Hello and welcome back. This is the video number 20 in the Flow Certified Coach online training series. This is a bonus video. I was chatting with Hans and I realized that this would be a really good video to share at the coach level because this demonstrates how we actually do a couple of the assessments, both for existing customers and new customers. My name, by the way, is Andrew Kallman. And on the next slide, I'm going to have Hans introduce himself.
Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew. It's really delightful to be here and to be at do this teach back videos. And today we're going to talk about the Flow Leadership Services. So my name is Hans Giller, and I'm a Flow certified coach. I've been working with IT business transformation for 10, 15 years in different aspects. Um, and I think that the Flow framework itself hit me really well when looking at it and start studying it. I often reflect of it being the missing components of a car. You don't just because you have an engine and some four wheels, it doesn't take you where you want to. You need to have uh, lubricants. You need to have a steering. You need to have a direction of where you're going as well to get to where you want to use the car. And I think that the flow framework itself are these lubricants, the steering and the direction of where the car is going to use it in the best possible way. So I think it's really nice to be part of this, and I'm very happy to share the leadership services that me and Andrew has been developing based on the flow framework. So yeah, let's go.
Cool.
All right. So what we have done the last couple of months is actually to look at the flow leadership framework and understand really how to use that in a good way, and to make it very, very concrete about how you can build business on it, and also start up your flow assignments with customers. And what we have done is actually to make a first flow assessment that is available now from Andrew, that can help you to identify the strengths and weaknesses, the opportunities and challenges within the organization when it comes to delivering value and actually getting the organization to move aligned to the business expectations in some way. And this is something that we see is a good introduction as well, and as Andrew would call it, the camel's nose to actually get into the organization and actually show a little bit how flow actually works in practice.
Yep.
We also had a flow friction analysis, which is based on the flow analysis that's part of flow, and it's mainly, as it says here, incorporates both the flow, the best of flow, and how that works, making it very concrete and actionable, but also putting it in a digital environment, which is rapidly changing with higher degree of unpredictability and a higher demand for transformation, or as we want to call it, continuous change, um, or continuous controlled change. And I think that is really what we can achieve with these kind of methods and tools.
Yep. And just one more side note, this video is probably going to be longer than the usual 15 or 20 minutes, but we'll still try to keep it within a
Yeah,
compressed
we try.
time frame.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks. All right.
Yeah, so I worked for a company called Goodwin Company that I co-founded, and what we're trying to do in this company is really to understand why some companies are more successful than others when it comes to this digital or agile transformation. And it is quite tricky, and many companies have failed in this area, mainly because they see it's a digitalization, digital transformation as a set of tools and methods or technology that needs to be implemented to actually become digitalized. but we do a lot of research with a network of experts like Andrew, thought leaders, and senior consultants to really go into different areas to understand what makes a difference, what are the sort of key success factors for different areas. And we have done this with the flow leadership itself based on why some are more successful when it comes to this agile transformation, putting out the agile way of working. And there are definitely components in flow that actually helps organizations to be more effective and efficient when it comes to the agile way of working. But to the right there, we see that we have done this for a number of different capabilities, such as change readiness, digital capabilities, information privacy like GDPR, robotics, Industry 4.0, ecosystem and sourcing, product governance, you name it. So we have this framework, we have a lot of tools that we use to assess and understand how well or mature companies are for delivering value, business value. The way we do it, the approach is really going through 4 phases. So the first thing we do is really a capability assessment. And this is something that we can do also in Flow, that we have a framework, we have online questionnaires to quickly see how well, looking at the maturity and the performance of the capability itself. And this is usually done in a week or so to get all the information in. We do that in a workshop. We do it complement with some interviews and so on. The next phase is really going into the analysis and discussion, because the point of this is really to get the management team to have a common picture about how things look like. We don't believe in 40, 50 pages of PowerPoints to describe something. We do it in 1 page. I think it's really, really good. But so we want then to analyze what this actually means, to discuss what are the consequences of being in this situation in terms of competitiveness, in terms of creating value for business in that kind of context. The third phase is really based on the assessment, we can actually start prioritizing different focus areas. Where do we need to start? We cannot do everything at the same time. We need to find 2 or 3 areas where we can actually start delivering value, delivering change, and building some sort of backlog. We're saying, well, these 3 or 4 will be prioritized, the rest we will wait with. And that's very important also for the management team to gather the right resources, competences, and so on, to actually start driving this, and also doing it in a very controlled and in good environment. And the fourth is that we, based on the prioritization, do a concrete roadmap. What are you supposed to do concretely in the next 6 to 12 months? And I think this is a really nice approach. And we do this approach probably in 2 weeks. After that, we do the whole 4 phases, which is really excellent. So this is something we use to actually do the assessment, discussing, prioritizing, and the roadmap, which help the company to see, okay, where do we have the problems in agile way of working or with flow, and identify areas that we can concretely go in and work with. I can say something about Go Digital as well. What we recognize is that every agile transformation is different and unique. So there's not one roadmap or game plan for all agile transformations, as some consultants might say. Everything is different. So what we've done is that we have all the modules in Go Digital, including Flow, are sort of plug and play services that we can use to combine different elements. So for example, combining the Flow assessment with change readiness or with digital governance, as often does, to actually get a broader view. So that is how it a little bit works. But I think that the flow assessment itself is a very good starting point, and to actually deliver something really, really valuable assessment, prioritization, and roadmap in like 2 weeks. And that makes it very, very concrete.
Yeah, and that's what makes it really powerful. I'm really excited about this. This is really good.
Excellent, great. And we're very proud of ourselves. And I think the good thing is as well that when doing these kind of assessments and engagement with customers, it's often on the customer's terms, how much resources they want to put into this, how much time they have to do things. And therefore, we need to have different approaches depending on the situation. We therefore have a little bit of different alternatives when we have the framework and this kind of assessments, that we can do a high level assessment where we walk through the different parts of the assessment in 1 to 5 days. I've done it in a sales meeting in 30 minutes. It was very quick, but it gave really the aha effect. It was really the wow effect. Oh, wow, you can actually deliver something so concrete and accurate in 1 day, which is brilliant. And that is because of the sheer amount of research that goes into this and the way it's conceptualized and packaged. So that makes it really, really interesting to do in a sales meeting or as a startup thing. We have 3 days to start up the project. Let's go through it and see actually where we have the problems and where we need to focus. Excellent start. And if we have more time, and if we want to go a little bit deeper, we do this in-depth assessment. It takes 10 to 15 days where we really go through all the different criteria. We have approximately 100 criteria that need to be fulfilled for the flow assessment, and giving it more accurate assessment itself. What we have done also is that we combined it. We started with the high level one. We identified 3 or 4 areas where we thought that we need to do the in-depth, and we went in depth to area we thought was necessary. So it can be combined as well. So, but it's good to have these different alternatives because it really depends on what the clients require and how much time and money they have to spend on it. And I would always go for the in-depth because I think that is what gives the most value for the clients to get started, and it gives a more detailed picture, and we can also trace back to exactly where the problems are and do more accurate prioritization. Anyway, so we can also do a capability design handbook, and this is really about if they're starting from scratch, for example, and they have not really started with flow, we can actually design some sort of flow handbook where we actually define the principles and way of working in a document for them based on the templates itself. We can use the different boxes in the template to define how they should work, what kind of principles they need, how the way of working, and what kind of tools and competence they need in different domains. And that is what we use as a starting point for the handbook itself. And that can be very valuable to set sort of a game plan for how to work in this area, to get them agree that this is the way we're going to work. And then it's a matter of then how do we implement that.
Cool, it works.
Yeah, it's good when technology works. I think that
sometimes you gotta wonder, but in this,
yeah, it makes life so much easier.
yeah.
So we're going into the flow maturity assessment, and I think this is the jewel in the crown, where we look at how to assess the flow initiatives from a very broad perspective to see the strengths and weaknesses. So when we started looking at the flow framework itself and looking at all the experience that Andrew has in this area, we started to question, why are some companies more successful when implementing flow and getting the business benefit than others?
Yeah.
What are the sort of the secrets that we can reveal in this and to make it more successful? And what we found that there are 6 different components that needs to be in place to get flow to work very actively, and also to get this agile way of working to work and safe to work. And these are having a common vision. I think this is the sort of the basic foundation of the whole framework, to having a vision that can be cascaded down in the organization where everybody's sort of moving toward the same light somewhere in the horizon. I think that's very important. The second one is having one language, so I have the same definitions, the same language, the same understanding of concepts, what actually mean. We distill it in a good way, define and distill it in a great way. And we see that when companies have different languages, then it will create confusion and frustration and often political battles about what things actually mean.
Yeah.
The third one is obviously the value and vision delivery, how we deliver value in the organization. And this is really going back to the 4D model of flow, the define, distill, deliver, and drive to create this optimal value. The fourth one is value cycle management. And this is really how to manage the performance of the delivery or the transformation itself. Here we talk very much about how to track and manage performance to get this accurate acceleration of things. And it's interesting that Gartner just had a piece out a couple of months ago saying that less than 50% of managers don't have any way to track the performance of the agile and digital transformation, which I think is awful.
That's amazing.
Because if you don't really, if you don't track it and can show the benefits, it's very difficult to build momentum and justify further investments. Why should I invest in something we cannot track?
Yeah.
Obviously, we need some flow governance in an organization to have clear roles and responsibility, organization, mandates, and so on. So everybody knows exactly what they're supposed to do. And also, it manages expectations, both in the team and organization, but also on yourself. So you know that exactly what is requested or required of you in this. And then the fifth one is leadership coaching, actually to coach organizations, teams, and individuals up the AHA curve to great performance. And what's so interesting is that when we look at different components and capabilities in digital transformation, as you saw on the previous pages, leadership and culture always comes back, is always there. So, and leadership and coaching is sort of the fundamental for this transformation, because transformation is not about tools and technology, it's about people. It's about people in teams, in units, in leadership and management positions, challenging themselves and taking a step into the unknown. And for that, they need to have coaching, understanding what is expected of them and where they're going. So these are the 6 areas that we thought that we found when looking at the flow framework and also digging deep into Andrew's pool of knowledge and competence and experience, that these are the 6 areas that really made a difference. These are the ones that really signified success for these companies. Do you have anything to add, Andrew?
Well, I was just going to say this really helps, I think, the leadership and the executives understand how we can make this very concrete for them. As you mentioned, a lot of agilists, they don't measure. And if they're not measuring, then it's extremely hard for management to understand what's their progress, how are they proceeding. And so we have a lot of tools, but what I like about this, especially this last one, the leadership coaching, it's not just to try to implement the tools and the tool sets and the methods and frameworks and things like that. It's the mindset. And it's train, coach, and mentor, train, coach, and mentor. And so the 6th one, the first one and the 6th one are like what holds everything together. It's like a really good sandwich. And so this is why I like this. And this is really concrete from a quick project perspective and for helping the executives understand where they're at. And so that's why I really like this.
Yeah. I think it's been captured very well here. So what we do is actually we have this game plan, so to say, or canvas that we look at. So we have on the top, on the bottom there, we have the 6 different capabilities that we looked at before: the common vision, one language, value and vision delivery, value cycle management, flow governance, and leadership coaching. So those are the ones we're going to assess in some way. And the way we do it is we look at them from 4 different perspectives. We look at them from contextual, looking at them from the outside. What are the requirements? What are the expectations? What are the trends? What are the possibilities, opportunities in this area? Do we fully understand them? Do we understand how it actually impacts us? And this is really getting the insights in, getting the people to engage in something. The second level is concepts or conceptual, and this is where we actually build a direction or principles about how we're going to do things. Do we have principles for our language? Have we defined what language or dictionary we're going to have for this? The daily work is how we work with this in daily life, the daily operational work. So how do we, for example, when it comes to one language, how do we keep people using it in the daily work? How do we continuously upgrade the dictionary or what we have? So this is really what we do in everyday life. And obviously that is sort of dependent on the conceptual level. So we define the concept of how we're going to do it, and then we say, okay, so what are we going to do then concretely? That is in the daily work. And with the what defines, okay, what tools do we need? What competence do we need? What resources do we need to actually do this in the best possible way? And that is really where we get very, very concrete about doing it. So we have the right material, the resources, the competence, the frameworks, everything that we need to actually do this in the best possible, do the daily work in the best possible way. So what we do is that we go through each of the boxes, for example, common vision, contextual, to actually see, okay, so how does this actually work? Is this something that is creating a better flow or a worse flow in some way? Is it contributing to efficiency, effectiveness of the agile way of working, or is something that's hindering it? Is this an obstacle in some way, or is it something that is sort of something we are working with but not quite there? So we have red, yellow, and green criteria, and for each of these boxes we set up success criteria that needs to be fulfilled to get the green light. So when it talks to this one vision criteria and the contextual, we have here 3 criteria that needs to be fulfilled. We understand that a key success factor for digital transformation and value delivery is a common vision. Do we understand that? Do our leaders actually believe that, or do they see something else? We have done extensive research with external sources about how visions are developed and used in successful and competitive organizations. Have we done that or not? For criteria 3, we understand that managers and leaders interpret and cascade vision differently without guidance and support. And that is a third thing we need to understand to get a green light. And in most cases, we see problems in these areas, that we don't have the guidance and support of how to cascade things. We understand that managers interpret things differently because we don't have a common dictionary or language. We don't do the general research about how to do things. And we don't understand the importance of a vision in the organizations. We believe more in the frameworks and processes.
Yeah.
So this is something we go through to see, do we have the basics in place here for this agile transformation or agile way of work? So in most cases, we will probably put it red here because these criteria are not met, meaning that this is an area that does not contribute to the efficiency and effectiveness of the agile way of working or the agile transformation. This is a hinder. Yeah. This is something that's stopping sort of competitiveness to happen. So that's what we do. So we do that either in interviews, or we do it as in a workshop, or we do it in online surveys to actually answer these questions. This is quite interesting. Yep. So we do this for all the different boxes. So the next block is really going into the common vision and the conceptual, and then we have 2 criteria here.
Yeah, sorry.
That we work with, and both of those need to be fulfilled to get a green light. And in some cases, we only have one of them that is green. Then we will have an overall yellow light. So this is a way of actually going through the different criteria for the different boxes to understand exactly how well the organization is functioning from a flow perspective. And in the end, it gives a really interesting dashboard about, or heat map, one might say, that summarizes sort of the maturity of flow in the organization, and meaning how well the organization is prepared and effective and efficiently working to deliver value in this agile way of working, or in safe, or in projects generally. And we can see here that this is an example we done with company XYZ. It's a little bit of a fictitious company, but it's built very much on our own views and experience. That there are challenges in this. There are areas where they excel in and they're really good at. There are areas they are a little bit concerned with, they will have yellow marks, and there are areas that are absolutely critical problems in challenges, and these are the red areas. Where we don't really have anything in place, which are the greatest obstacles for actually getting the flow to work, and to get the machinery to work, to get the car moving in the right direction and the right speed. And in this case, obviously, there's challenges in the flow governance section, which is all red. So in this case, don't have anything in place when it comes to flow governance, meaning that they will probably not succeed with implementing flow as it looks like. And we can also see that they have a maturity of 38% that we can calculate based on an algorithm, and which shows that they probably need to go up to 50, 60, or 70% to actually get the full benefit of flow.
Yep.
Here we also done a prioritization 1, 2, 3, where we need to focus to actually getting flow up to speed. And this is done together with the management team, where we actually discuss and analyze, we said before, and we do the prioritization. And based on that, we can start to make, so, okay, 6-month roadmap. What do we need to do to get flow to really start working? And these are the areas, and 1, 2, 3, that we start to prioritize.
Yep.
So this actually doing this in 2 weeks, getting this commitment from the management team on this picture, the prioritization, the roadmap, is an excellent start if you want to start implementing it, because you know exactly where to start, and exactly where the problems are, and exactly where to go.
Yeah. And one thing that's really valuable about this is if we do this over a time period. So if we do an assessment in 1 quarter, then we take another picture 3 months later, after working with the teams to help them up the curve, the picture is going to change. And after about 4 quarters of this, you're going to have an excellent view, not just on where they're at, but also the progress that they've made.
Yes.
So this is
Definitely,
a beautiful single-page summary.
Yeah, definitely, and what I think we can see also, that there is a correlation between the maturity score and also the benefits.
Yeah.
So the higher maturity score you have, the more business benefits you will have. So we can always see the correlation there, and that makes this really powerful. So we can say that, well, now you have 38%, and you probably right now you're only working at maybe 30-40% of the potential benefits.
Yeah.
And if you want to raise that, then you need to increase the maturity.
Yep. And this will help the executives shape their culture in a way that will enable all of the agile and scaled agile efforts that they're doing. If they can repair these, it will actually enable those other things to happen. And so that's why this is so incredibly powerful. Cool. And
definitely.
we're going to look at the friction analysis here real quickly before we finish up. We just have a few more minutes.
Yeah.
And
no problem.
We'll dive right into this. So this is the
yes.
analysis.
I think we spent a lot of time already on this. Yeah. So we also done the friction flow friction analysis, and this is something I think is so powerful for in the in the flow leadership framework to get actually all the different parts of the organization to move in one direction, understanding their own expectations, the requirements, and the visions, and so on. So what we've done is actually we took the friction analysis. You see the headers there that are part of the friction analysis: the vision, the right people, and then the 4D: define, distill, deliver, and drive. And these are the 6 areas we want to somehow analyze. So how good are we in these 6 areas? And the way we do it is actually to look at if the vision, for example, is suitable, is it feasible, is it acceptable? And these are questions we usually ask when we define some sort of strategy or plan. And I think it's very good. So the suitable, is this, for example, is the vision itself suitable for the organization given the business context? Is it possible to cascade it and execute the vision that's more feasible? And is the corporate vision accepted by all leaders and employees? That's more acceptable level. So we do that for all of these 6 areas and on all the different perspectives or organizational views. So we look at organization, we look at products, team, and individual.
Right.
And that gives quite an interesting picture about how things actually work in the organization itself and where also the challenges are. So once again, we go through each box, we ask the question and honestly answer whether this is true or not, or whether there are concerns. So this is an example we did. And for each of the boxes, we put, again, green, yellow, or red. If it's well working, is there concern and clarities, or not working? And this gives us actually a quite interesting picture about whether there's flow in the organization or not. So we look at its vision, it's working quite well. We have a huge problem when it comes to deliver, as this is something that is not working well from these 3 different perspectives. And we also have problems when it comes to finding the right people. And overall, we get a flow maturity in this, or friction maturity, of 50%, which is very low. So we can say that, for example, in this case, this is not working at all. And we need also to prioritize and look at where we can start. And probably we start in the deliver part and looking at the feasible and acceptable area. So this is also a very interesting tool.
Yeah, and what I like about this is we can start at the organizational level, go to product level, team level, individual level. We can make this as granular as needed. But the more granular you make it, the more effort it is, and the more work it's going to be. But it's
definitely
well worth it.
Yeah, but it gives a very interesting perspective and analysis about what is not working in the organization. Why don't we get this agile way of working functioning? Or why don't we get this transformation ongoing? Or what is product not working? Well, here is the answer to it. And we can actually pinpoint precisely where actually to focus to get the momentum going even further. This is really interesting. So based on that, we can actually make a diagram from this different perspective, the individual, the team, the products, and organization. And we can actually put them into this diagram. So on the x-axis, we have the ability to deliver. And on the y-axis, we have the vision clarity. And based on the assessments we did, we can actually pinpoint them in these different parts of the diagram. And we see that, for example, in this case, we have teams that are really in the low ability to deliver, but high vision. They probably have the right vision, weak delivery, and they will deliver the wrong results. And we can then go into the assessment itself and see exactly what are the problems doing that. But what we want to do here is, with a roadmap, with an assessment and a work meeting, we want to move all of these up to the top right-hand corner, to the flow corner, to get things working. But this gives an excellent view about how this is the situation we have today. And we really need to do something about it to create sort of the optimal situation and deliver optimal value. Great, we're getting to the end of this. How are we doing on time?
We've gone over, but it's okay. This was really important
It's okay.
to give them the high
Yeah,
level
definitely.
because it's a little in depth, but it was still enough. I think it really gives them a good overview and feel for what this is all about.
Yeah, definitely. So if you take some sort of leadership recap here and applications, I think that we see so many organizations today that implement these new kind of frameworks, such as um, agile way of working, or safe, or um, agile product management, and so on, and not getting the full potential of it. And many question, why is that? What are the sort of the foundation that we are missing somewhere in there, and what do we need to do concretely to make it better? And many then hire expensive consultants from abroad to go in and sort of implement their version of agile way of working or safe to get that working in some way. But what we've done is really go into the depth of this and understanding why is it that the organizations don't work. And this is based on very much on Andrew's enormous amount of experience and competence in this area captured in sort of the flow leadership framework. So this is a tool that we can actually go in very concretely to identify, pinpoint exactly where the challenges are and why you don't get that massive value adding and value creation. So we can do this in 3 different ways. We can do the high level assessment, 1 to 3 days, where we go in and we do sort of a overview about how things actually work with the templates, and we can do it in a half day or day or so if we need to get an overview and see a little bit about where things are, to getting the first feel about where we have the challenges. We can go in depth where we really go through each criteria, almost 100 criteria, to see exactly where the problems are. This is very more granular, it's more exact, it's more precise in what we do. This is exact surgery to remove the things that's not working. And then finally, we can do the handbook itself, where we, based on template, also defining how we should do things, why we should do things, following the different steps of the templates to define exactly all the answers to all the questions. So that is really what is up to, and it's now available, I mean, for all flow professionals to use. So just give Andrew a call, and we will set it up for you.
Excellent. This was excellent work, Hans. Really appreciate
Yeah,
this. The thought that went into this was excellent. And
thank you.
I look forward for us to being able to use this with the clients to help them, especially the leadership, get a really good handle on what it is that they're up against, because they're making huge investments in agile. They need to get a return on that investment. So I think that this is a really important tool that we've put into our tool set to help them understand where they're at and the amount of work that it's going to take to help their people not just get the tool sets working, but to get the mindset as well.
Yeah.
And so this is really, really good work. Thank you for sharing this today. And look forward to having you again in another video at another time.
Yes,
Very
definitely,
much.
definitely. We will.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thanks.
definitely.
All right.
Yeah.